कंजेशन की स्थिति तैनात थी और उस वातावरण में मेरे सहभागी जनरल साहब, हम तत्कालीन सचिव, बीकैस के डीजी हसन साहब, हम सब दिल्ली के टर्मिनल पे पहुंचे थे 12 दिसंबर को, करीब करीब आज से ठीक एक साल। और जो स्थिति 3.5 घंटे की बैठक वहां आयोजित की, मैं मानता हूं कि हमारे सिविल एविएशन के वैल्यू चेन में एक तरफ यात्री है जो यात्रा करने के लिए आशान्वित है, दूसरे तरफ सर्विस प्रोवाइडर है एयरलाइन, जो यात्री को अपने गंतव्य तक ले जाने के लिए, अपनी जिम्मेदारी निभाने के लिए आशान्वित है। कस्टमर और सर्विस प्रोवाइडर के बीच में फैसिलिटी होती है एयरपोर्ट की, और एयरपोर्ट की स्पष्ट जिम्मेदारी होती है कि इस पूरे वैल्यू चेन कस्टमर को सुलभता के साथ, सुगमता के साथ और सुविधाजनक अपने एयरक्राफ्ट तक पहुंचाए। और कोई कारण नहीं हो सकता, ये स्पष्ट मैं कह दूं, there can be no reason for any discomfort, lack of facility in the value chain between the desire of the customer to travel and the service provider, which is the airline, to provide that service on behalf of the intermediary. And the airport performs that role of the intermediary between the value chain of the customer and the service provider. Even more so, because apart from one or two exceptions, generally the airport is a monopoly, because you have a single point of call of entry in a particular city, and therefore it is incumbent on the service provider, i.e. the airport, in terms of how many passengers board planes. In the middle of that input and output is a process. That process has 5 to 6 touch points. The first touch point is when the passenger arrives curbside at an airport. The second touch point is the entry gate inside the airport. The third touch point is when the passenger goes for check-in into the airport. The fourth touch point is the baggage drop. The fifth touch point is the PSC, the security check process of a passenger. And the sixth and last checkpoint is your boarding gate. Now, it's a very simple algorithm of trying to put in place, in terms of the number of passengers coming in, the capacity at each one of these checkpoints, so that the latency and delay at each one of these checkpoints is the shortest possible. And that must flow through the system. On the other hand, it is also important to manage the bell curve across these 6 airports. It is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's not a cookie-cutter approach, because each airport has its own issues. And in the second phase, in addition to the 6 metro city airports, we took 10 additional airports that experienced congestion. And those very clearly were Bhubaneswar, Chandigarh, Goa, Patna, Jaipur, Guwahati, Lucknow, Ahmedabad, Trivandrum, and Kochi. So 16 airports in total were taken on board on the 12th of December. And we started working at what the causes for congestion were, we started working on a schematic as to what the parameters should be for each touch point. And post our initial exercise, we had a meeting with the Home Minister, and along with him, we decided that we must have international benchmarks that are put in place in terms of capacity at each one of these touch points. 3 or 4 very clear causes came out in terms of what the reasons were for this. The first was the issue of lack of sufficient airport infrastructure. Second, inadequate X-ray screening machines, or as we know in aviation parlance, XBIS machines and ATRS machines. Third, inordinate bunching of flights during peak hours, creating that peak hour congestion, which is beyond the capacity of the airport. Fourth, inadequate amount of manpower with regard to security as well as immigration. So what we did as a first step is to make sure that we facilitate every process along the step. So if you remember very clearly, in late December itself, there is almost like a Naka before the Delhi airport. We placed video screens there in terms of the wait time at each departure gate. We made sure we had usherers at each departure gate to make sure that passengers move. We also made sure that we increased the number of ATRS and XBIS machines. Some airports complained about the lack of space within their airports. And so we personally visited those airports where there were VIP lounges or retail and commercial spaces which needn't be there, because the priority of an airport is to serve the customer. We brought in place DigiYatra at 5 airports initially, all metro airports apart from Chennai. We then increased it by another 8. Today, DigiYatra is working across 13 airports in India. Those 13 airports cater to almost about 85% of our domestic passenger traffic. We've had 35 million downloads of DigiYatra app. 91 lakh times the DigiYatra app has been used by passengers to either arrive at particular airports and board planes. In the next ministry of the Civil Aviation Ministry, we have worked with the airports to improve the positions, which we will share with you during this presentation. These are the international metrics and the domestic metrics that we have evolved. The processing standard, for example, at the departure entry grade should be 20 seconds conventionally for a conventional passenger and 7 seconds for a DigiYatra passenger. The check-in should be 120 seconds on domestic, international 300 seconds. The security checkpoints, they have their उनके अपने मानक हैं 180 से 160 processing standard, और conventional XBIS जो ATRS machine ना हो, automatic tray retrieval system ना हो, वहाँ करीब 135 से 105 ये मानक हमने रखा है. इमिग्रेशन और एमिग्रेशन के लिए भी मानक हमने बना के रखा था, और इसी के साथ क्यूइंग स्पेस के लिए भी, क्योंकि जब लाइन लगती है तो उस क्यूइंग स्पेस के लिए भी कितने स्क्वायर मीटर पर पैसेंजर रखी जानी चाहिए, उसका भी मानक डोमेस्टिक इंटीग्रेटेड चेक इन के लिए 1.8 स्क्वायर मीटर्स पर पैसेंजर का मानक हमने बना के रखा है. सिक्योरिटी चेक पॉइंट के लिए 1.2 स्क्वायर मीटर्स पर पर्सन, और वैसे ही इमिग्रेशन और एमिग्रेशन के लिए भी मानक हमने रखा गया है. 5 हमने नए रूल बनाए और ये हर एक एयरपोर्ट पर लागू होगा. पहला रूल कि बिजनेस और कमर्शियल जगह के लिए स्पेस एलोकेट होगा केवल और केवल जब पर्याप्त मात्रा में जगह यात्रियों के लिए एलोकेटेड की जाएगी. नंबर 1. नंबर 2, कोई भी अतिरिक्त जगह अगर किसी एयरपोर्ट को चाहिए, कमर्शियल या या रिटेल के लिए, वो आने वाले अनुमान कि कितने पैसेंजर की बढ़ोतरी होगी उस एयरपोर्ट में, उसी के बाद उसकी स्वीकृति उस एयरपोर्ट को दी जाएगी। जो भी जगह अनुमानित भविष्य की ट्रैफिक के लिए हमने रेखांकित किया है, केस इन पॉइंट्स फॉर यू, in Bangalore 156% increase from 18 departure gates to 46, in Delhi from 31 departure entry gates to 66, Guwahati 5 to 10, and so on and so forth, ranging from 156% to 7% increase, an average of 54%. Similarly, for Airports Authority of India, from 63, the number of gates have been increased to 81, an increase of 30%, 75% in Chandigarh and Chennai, 40% in Patna. The second point of contact is your check-in counters. For the check-in counters in the JV airports, there has been increase of 22%. Bangalore, Bangalore increase of almost 88% from. There is a difference between the summer schedule and the winter schedule. When you and I travel in the summer, we are wearing a kurta pajama or a pant shirt. We have a handbag in our hand. But the same person, when we travel in the winter, in addition to our kurta pajama and our pant shirt or our handbag, we also have a jacket. And we also have an overcoat. So where a passenger may need only 1 or 2 trays during summer, they will need an additional tray during winter, put their heavy coats. So to keep that in mind as well, we have increased our XBIS machines by almost to control the congestion. Once the infrastructure is in place, we will move the capping here as well. Similar situation in Bengaluru, where we have increased by 156% the entry checkpoints. XBIS machines have gone from 23 to 40. Digi Yatra is in place, 37% adoption. And here again, we capped the ATM only by 1, but we certainly did so, and now we are back to a no capping position. Hyderabad, a similar case for you. Again, there was not much congestion in Hyderabad, but in any case, we've got Digi Yatra in place and increased the number of entry points. Kolkata, again, shifted or removed to provide that facilitation. Here's another example for you. The international security hold area, this area which was used for their office work has been compressed and compacted to provide more area for people to move around. Similar exercise in Mumbai, shops that were in the way as opposed to on the way have been removed to provide area for passengers in peak hours to check in and go through security. Jaipur Airport, similar curbside extensions for passengers to come in and check in. This is an interesting, we had a terminal manager's office blocking an entry gate. We removed that, and now you've got a new entry gate in Jaipur that has been created there. Similar examples for you in Guwahati, where retail has been removed. And the impact is there for us.